Welcome back to Lush Life, No Labels. I'm Michelle, and I have a very special guest joining me on this week's episode. Guest, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Michelle. My name is Sid, and I've been friends with Michelle for over 2 years now, and this will continue for a lifetime.
Yes, yes. Thank you for joining me. How has your week been this week?
My week has been great. Work is work. What kept me going this week is my Pilates class that I have been doing every other day, so three times a week. And honestly, I feel like Pilates is picking up because I've been seeing a ton of Instagram reels and just like TikTok influencers doing that. So my week
Yeah,
has been
everybody's doing it. And I gotta say, I did Pilates before it became popular, but continue.
Mhm. You started it. You set the trend.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, my week has been pretty busy, but my routine has kept me going. How about you?
Yeah, it's definitely been a busy week this week. But like you mentioned, I guess there's distractions like social media, and we sort of see what people are up to in terms of their
Mhm.
wellness. You mentioned Pilates, and I've been seeing those types of videos as well with influencers on TikTok and YouTube. Everyone's calling everything Pilates. So I think it's we can actually transition into that because I want to hear your thoughts on what you've been seeing and what your thoughts are
Mhm.
on it as someone who does actual Pilates.
Oh my God, I have so many thoughts. Pilates is being portrayed as something that will give you abs immediately. It's not, first of all, nobody even knows where it originated from. So people can fact check me. You can fact check me as well. When I started Pilates classes here, I have been told that it came from Germany, is what I was told.
Joseph Pilates is the name of the man.
Okay.
I think it has to do with World War II. I
Okay.
believe when he sort of started doing Pilates. That's what I've heard.
Right. When I started Pilates, I was like, "Oh my God, this is a wow moment for me because I realized that how weak my core is."
Mhm.
And as I continued to be consistent, I realized that this is not just a full body workout, but also a huge emphasis on core strength.
How would you describe your core?
A core is a set of muscles that exists in your abdominal area, I guess. And it truly helps with a lot of your, I want to say, mobility in terms, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
I,
mobility. It can also help with if you do body weight. There's
mhm.
a lot of body weight in Pilates, but it's a lot of mobility, a lot of stretching,
Posture.
posture.
Um, and then I started also seeing some physical therapists, PTs,
Mhm.
differentiating between a core workout versus an ab workout.
Mhm.
And that put a lot into perspective that Pilates is being portrayed as something that will get you abs, but that's not true. Additionally, in order to get abs, you have to go on a calorie deficit diet. Unless you're blessed with those genes, that will just immediately it'll show you the bricks on your stomach, as I like to call it in undergrad. But it's just not true, right? Like, since when did we start, when did this trend become so popular that people are just obsessed with abs? You can
Mhm.
starve yourself just to get, that picturesque moment. For what?
Yeah, everyone's obsessed with that. And Pilates, I completely agree with you. Pilates is those abdominal muscles that helps with everything that you mentioned. A few examples for people who don't know Pilates. For
Mhm.
example, planks. Any plank is part of Pilates. And if you do a plank, you will feel it and you'll know exactly what we're talking about. When you are working out your core, you feel your core. So it's, like I said, it's things like planks, any types of roll-ups, bridges, toe taps, those types of things are all targeting your core. And I do agree that the doing Pilates doesn't give you abs. It doesn't, I've heard people, influencers say, oh, it's going to transform your body,
Mm-hmm.
lose all this weight. No, if you want to lose weight, like you said you need to do a calorie deficit and do some cardio. Pilates doesn't do those things. What I do think it helps me with is obviously strengthening my core, but because I strengthen my core, it makes my other workouts easier to do. So when I lift weights, it makes it easier to do. If I'm doing a squat, It
Hmm.
makes it easier to do when I'm going up and down because I can feel my core helping me move up and down. And
Right.
doing cardio as well, there's a lot of semi-core workouts you do in
Mhm.
cardio, but I think for me, it just makes it easier. And it's not the same as yoga. So I think yoga is a lot more breathing, a lot more flow. Pilates has
Mhm.
its own type of breath movements as well.
Yes.
These influencers and everyone saying, "Oh, this is Pilates. Oh, this is Pilates," and it's like, no, that's cardio. Like that's not Pilates at all. Or no, that's strength. That's not Pilates at all. And I've seen people, so people are misnaming it that way. And I do mat Pilates for the most part, but I know a
Mhm.
lot of people, and I have friends who do reformer Pilates on the machines. What type of Pilates do you do typically?
During my class, we have 10 minutes of floor Pilates where we stretch and stuff, and then the rest of 50 minutes we spent on the reformer.
How do you like the reformer in terms
I
of
love
balance?
the
Okay, that's good because I tried Reformer. I had like a free trial of something a while back, and I tried Reformer a few times. And I don't know. I was like, have I even ever done Pilates? I was just so nervous about falling off. I don't know the balance of it. It was definitely good though, because it helped me do more strength with that machine. But I personally just enjoy classical mat Pilates, but I understand the appeal of Reformer Pilates.
Honestly, maybe because I just don't like mat workouts. I don't
Mhm.
know. I like reformer because it challenged me more.
Hmm.
It always humbles me. I am humbled after every class, although sometimes the coach or instructor would make us do the same workouts, and I'm like, I still cannot do it.
Hmm.
Um, and he does it so effortlessly, and I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
that's me though. Every time I do a Pilates workout, it's definitely a challenging workout for me. And I do wonder if I know how to do it, but obviously I do. It's just that's part of the reason I like it though, is that every
And
time
we
I
continue
do it,
to do it.
it's going to be challenging. It's not a
Right.
walk in the park, and I like that.
And we show up.
Yes.
Regardless of how difficult it is, we continue to
Hmm.
show up. Not because we're here for the sole purpose of abs, but because it makes us feel good. And that is the main reason why people stay consistent with working out, whether it is you do yoga, you do
Hmm.
Pilates, you do running, you do weightlifting, whatever, because it
Hmm.
makes you feel good and it helps you stay sane. We're living in a world where things are falling apart while we're asleep.
Yep.
Come on.
Don't even get me started on that.
Not even just one place. There are several countries that are falling apart that the media is not even covering.
You're right. And even things like walking, I do my workouts, like I said, Pilates, I lift weights, I do cardio, but I also love to walk and I like to hike, but in the winters of New England, I just like to take walks. And it's part of a nice wellness. And whether it's walking during lunch if I'm at home or walking in the evening, just trying to get, not necessarily trying to hit a certain number of steps, but just trying to get my heart pumping. Like you said, it's really part of the overall wellness for us. It's not just about, I want my body to look exactly like this, but it's about how can I keep up my wellness and my health. And a lot of influencers online, I see they say, oh, if you do these exercises, your body's going to look like this. And that's not true. One thing about health and exercise is that all of our bodies are different and genetics
Mhm.
plays a huge role. Nobody tells you that though, because they want you to pay for their class or they want you to pay for XYZ.
Mhm.
Genetics are a huge thing, even with things like skincare. Skincare,
Yes.
hair, genetics are such a huge thing. And so what I want for people to think about is that, and to think about what is it that you want for yourself. What is that phrase? Comparison is the thief of joy. A lot of us compare ourselves to other people, especially when it comes to what we look like. It really can take us to a dark place if we're
Mhm.
constantly comparing the way that our bodies look, our face, our hair, our style, all of that. And people are trying to make money, so they're not going to tell you the truth. But it's important to keep that in mind as we think about what's best for our health. And sometimes you switch the types of workouts that you do. Maybe you want to do cardio because you want to lose weight on this. Maybe you want to gain some muscle, so you're going to focus more on lifting weights.
Right.
Right? So it's really all about what your personal goals are, not what somebody else looks like that you will try to emulate. Because honestly, you're not going to end up looking like that. And then you're going to be disappointed and it's going to make it worse for you.
Oh,
So,
yeah, no, continue.
no, I was going to say, so exercise is definitely part of that. But are there other things that you do for your wellness and health?
Ooh, honestly, whatever you just said, I have only one sentence. You ate with that. You were
Thank
spitting.
you.
To answer your question, I follow a routine.
Mhm,
I eat clean for the most part in terms of cooking on my own,
mhm.
and I follow a plant-based diet. So a lot of my meals are high protein, a lot of plants, a lot of vegetables, etc.
You're a good cook. I can attest to that.
Oh, thank you. I did cook and I will do that again when I visit her. That is one thing that truly helps me is maintaining I wouldn't call it a strict diet, but it's maintaining a consistent meal plan along with regular exercise. And it's important to note that regular means a few days a week, not overwhelming myself with 3 workouts a day or 2 workouts a day or something like that. Rest is very important as well. And that also is part of how I take care of myself and wellness.
Too much of anything is not good.
Exactly.
And too much water is not going to be good for your body.
What my mom loves to say is excess of everything is bad.
She's absolutely right.
And I was like, girl, good. Put that on a t-shirt. That is one thing I love to talk to my friends, like I'm talking to you. It helps me, it helps with my mental health, gives me joy, and that's part of wellness. You have to protect your happiness and contributes to endorphins and et cetera, et cetera. So that helps. So food is fuel, daily movement, and positive interactions. I guess those three are my main ones.
With the understanding too that some people have different jobs and so you may not have time to do a full body workout on most days because of the nature of your job or the nature of your life, but like we said, even just taking a walk, a short walk is better than doing nothing. And even if you live, for example, in New England or a place where it's too hot to go outside or too cold to go outside, I even will just put on a YouTube video and walk in place in my apartment. So I encourage everyone to think about those types of things in terms of the movement, but definitely agree with you on the wellness piece, talking to friends, trying to keep up that joy. Like you mentioned earlier, Sid, the world is crumbling around us. There's a lot going on. And even just day-to-day life can be stressful, no matter
Mhm.
who you are or what you do. So trying to figure out those things that help you the most is great. I also, in addition to what you said, I love to listen to music, different types of music. Anybody who knows me knows I love to dance. I will dance in my room. I'll dance anywhere, right? So you don't need to go somewhere to be able to incorporate these things into your daily life. Another thing too that I'll actually plug kind of is I listen to Tibetan singing bowls on Spotify. Um, actually, one of my friends introduced me to this a few years ago.
Mhm.
So I don't necessarily do formal meditation, but in the mornings when I wake up, before I do anything, I will just sit for at least a few minutes and just put on Tibetan singing bowls. It's supposed to be helpful and meditative, and I think it is. It just helps to sort of clear my mind. It helps me to come to place with the new day. And then I can just start with whatever, getting ready for work or whatever it is that I'm doing. So those types of things, or I listen to morning jazz music or somebody's like playing the harp, just those types of things. I actually find it's good for me and it's kind of my form of meditation as well. So I think those are other types of things around wellness that people can consider if they're trying to improve their mental health. And the things that we've said, none of those cost money for the most part. I mentioned YouTube. YouTube is free, but everything else really doesn't cost money. And I think it's
Walking
important.
is free.
The what is free?
Walking is free.
Walking is free. Walking in your apartment is free. And actually, my favorite word is free. So the things that I recommend to people usually are free because sometimes we feel like, oh, I need all of this money to do X, Y, Z, or we make up excuses around why we can't do this because it's so far or it's so this. But you can really do things where you are and bring
Hmm.
it to you. You just have to explore it and you just have to sort of figure that out if it's something that is helpful for you. And if we're in the US with our lack of universal health care, we need to be in charge of our own health and wellness. If we don't take charge of that, we should not expect anybody else to. Even if you're in a relationship, even if you're married, even if you're whatever, do not expect the other person to take charge of your health and well-being and mental health. And I do think sometimes we make excuses around that as if it's other people's responsibility or it's my doctor's responsibility. No, it's my responsibility to do these things. And as we get older, it gets harder to maintain our health and wellness.
I love this, and I want to quote something what SZA tweeted. I
Okay.
love SZA. This is what she said, and I quote, "Your life is yours, not anybody else's. Not the ones disappointed, not the ones talking shit, not the ones that never send an apology, not the ones sickening or judging, not the ones with stake in the game. The coffin only has room for one. You. Live it up."
Oh my God. I'm shook. I did not expect that part. Wow. I mean, she's right though.
She
There is only room for one in that coffin.
Exactly. My God. I was like, you know what? She's right.
And it's easy to forget that in such a chaotic world, but it's always good to remind ourselves that we are the rulers of our lives. I am the
What
boss of me. Yes, maybe I have a manager at work, but ultimately I am the boss of me. I control me. You were talking about earlier the way that you cook and what you ingest. We are what we eat. I think we've all heard that phrase, right? But as
Mhm.
adults, we're in charge of, it's not like my parent is going to buy me food or telling me what my schedule is. As an adult, that's part of what we have to do. We have to make those decisions for ourselves, and it has to be purposeful. If not, then we risk more detriment as we get older, and that's not great.
You're not wrong. And as we know that there are so many contaminants in the food that is out there, even fresh produce, all this stuff, even the meat that you're getting, the eggs, all that stuff, everything
The eggs,
contains
that triggers
eggs.
me in the US.
Yeah, don't let's not even talk about eggs, but just the fact that I saw people rinse their berries, like strawberries specifically, and lettuce, the fact that you have to wash them, then put them in baking soda and apple cider vinegar, then wash them again, that used to not be a thing.
Hmm.
Years ago, that used to not be a thing when it was our parents growing up or our grandparents. This used to not be a thing. They used to pluck strawberries from trees and eat them. You cannot do that now. You
Nope.
can't, which is so sad because now we have to think about all these things while taking care of ourselves. And that is important
Hmm.
because oftentimes people won't tell you that. All the pesticides that they use in the food.
Hmm.
So it's important to know what you're ingesting, whether it's also vitamins because you don't know what that thing is laced with or
And a lot of
manufactured with.
supplements, yeah, a
Right.
lot of supplements are being sold. Those are not approved by, at least in the US, they're not approved by the FDA. So you don't really know if those work really well or not. They could just be selling you whatever it is. Mhm.
Influencers, they're just out here making these videos with followers saying that they're taking these supplements because it works for them. That
Mhm.
does not mean that it will work for you. Going back to what you said, that we are different. We're just different people. We have different body types, we have different skin, we have a different metabolic system, and we need to make sure that we're taking and ingesting and buying things that will work suit for us and not what a white person said.
Woo! Yeah, because historically, everything is based on that, especially in America. All of the studies, even clinical trials, they didn't include a lot of non-white people. There were not a lot of people of color in those clinical trials. And so all of the data that they have is towards certain people.
Right. Cannot believe that. BMI, the
Oh, BMI.
most horrible metric that has
Yeah.
ever been
It's
created.
been debunked.
Several times, but people still use it, especially in hospitals. Why?
We need to do away
Horrible.
with that. We really do.
Also, I will say, even in wellness and healthcare, oh, sorry, wellness, fitness, all this stuff, all the core power and solid core, who goes? Mostly white people. Why? Because they can afford it.
Hmm.
And then we have to use YouTube videos because, it's just insane that you would want to pay $150 for a class.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah, I
Sometimes I'm like,
completely
why am I
agree.
even paying so much for a Pilates membership when
Mhm.
this is something that the government should be promoting, or the corporate jobs that we're working 9 to 5, 9 to 6, sometimes even more? They should be buying the membership and promoting a healthy lifestyle, telling the employees that, hey, you go do this, like get this claims free membership. I
Mhm.
read somewhere that sitting is the new smoking.
Oh, yes, yeah. Sitting for 8 hours a day, obviously, we know it impacts your posture, but it also impacts your blood flow. If you're sitting in that same position, your muscles can tense up just sitting like that. It's unfortunate. And even if it's, I know these corporations don't really care about us, but even if it's for a selfish reason, they should be investing in their employees' health and wellness because you don't want people to be calling out sick all the time. So
Right.
if it's like a selfish corporate reason, they should do it for that at least. But I don't know, they just don't care. Us to take charge of ourselves.
Right. Oh my God. Also, FYI, there's nothing wrong with working out at home and doing YouTube classes, but I'm just saying that it's so difficult to go to these workout classes and because it's so expensive, which bothers me. I think you suggested us doing like a YouTube Pilates class together. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it because I'm
Mhm.
doing it with you. But it would be also so cool that, oh, we can be going out, like getting coffee and then walking to a solid core class. But
Yep.
whatever. I'd rather not be part of a cult. Whatever.
You can still do solid core, but just be aware of what you're getting yourself into for those types of things.
I did some past classes. I went to Core Power.
Mhm.
Please. I walked in and I was like, why does everybody look like a Barbie doll?
That's the
Why?
thing. And that can be intimidating for people who don't look like that. I do Pilates, but I don't have the standard looking Pilates body. I have some body, okay? I'm a little thick. So, you know what I
She,
mean? And when I went to those classes, I would look around and oh, everyone's so skinny and white and I'm literally not that. But I was there for myself, which is fine. But I do think it's important to have body diversity and just diversity in general, but specifically body diversity. Because what I've seen in society is that people will look down on people with bigger bodies. But then when those people try to go to the gym or go to these workouts, then they want to film them and say, oh, why are they looking like that? Why are they this? So it's like you're mad at them for being bigger and you're mad at them for trying to get smaller. You just can't win. You just can't win.
exactly. Like, why are you going out there and getting a BBL when you're literally talking shit about someone who already has a natural BBL?
You get it, yep, you get a BBL, and then you start selling exercise courses, even though you did
Yes.
not do any of those exercises to get that body. I think a lot of influencers actually got exposed recently
Hmm.
about that. The fact that they got surgery and then were selling these courses
My
to
God,
unsuspecting people.
that's such a fraud behavior. And then I saw this entire Instagram carousel where they talked about how in high school and middle school, when brown and black girls would apply gel and oil on the hair to, have a clean look, that's
Mhm.
just because that's been in it's been in generation. It's like a cultural thing, not generation. I meant like it's a cultural thing. It's been passed down from generations to generations, but that
Mhm.
was made fun of by the white people. And then they ended up adopting it. Then they started having the tight, clean girl
Mhm.
look, right?
And it
Bigger
became
lips.
mainstream.
Yes, bigger lips, fuller
Hmm.
eyebrows,
Yeah,
lashes.
hair braids. Yep. Yep. It's just, it's unfortunate about the society that we live in that it is that way. And that's why I am unapologetically me. One thing about me, I'm going to change my hair. I'm going to change the length of it.
Yes.
One day I'm going to have hair down to my lower back. And then the next week it's going to be at my shoulders. It's going to be a different color. It's going to be this. And I used to be intimidated about changing my hairstyle or having it be all these crazy colors because I was like, oh, I work in corporate. This is the way other people do it. I'm already black, so there's already things working against me. But I said, you know what? I don't even care. If they want to get rid of me, they're going to get rid of me anyways. So I'm just going to do what I want as long as it's part, I'm not doing anything inappropriate. But it's those types of things. I think sometimes especially for those of us who are people of color, like you said, we really need to try and get out of the mindset of let me conform because I used to be that way. I would try to conform. And I'm sure there are still things that I conform to, obviously. I think it's hard to let go of all of those things when you're living in a society. But that is something that I encourage folks to think about. Are there different areas of your life or different things that you could do to just do you? It might be scary at first. It's like when I used to take myself out to solo dates and go to dinner by myself. And people would look at me like, what is she doing? Is she okay? Why is she by herself? Because people aren't used to that. But if you
Right.
can get comfortable with things like that and let your hair down, for lack of a better term, life is going to be so much easier. I think it's so much better for my mental health as well, me having that type of mindset. Like I said, it's not perfect, but you can start somewhere because there are so many stresses of life. If we just continue to do things like this or continue to think like this, then we're just going to live the rest of our lives
In
feeling like
fear.
we're in a box. Yeah, in fear. You're absolutely right.
Oh, I wish we could be on a TED Talk right now. People would be like nodding their heads and like cheering us on.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely have you back on this
Get
pod
there.
to talk
Oh my God.
about more things. It can be wellness, it can be other things, but happy to start a little TED Talk series because I think we all need more motivation. We all need more things to think about in terms of how we want to improve ourselves. And we don't have enough of that. There are a lot of life coaches and they tell you what to do, but I personally don't subscribe to life coaches. I think that we need to do the work ourselves. It's not easy. It is not easy at all, but it's important for us to do that work ourselves instead of relying on someone else to tell us what to eat, how to exercise, what to do with ourselves.
No, you're absolutely right. I don't like these life coaches because I feel like sometimes they're just doing too much.
Hmm.
I'm like, I feel like you're faking it, and I don't like that. And I don't need you, who I don't even know who's giving this advice to everyone, to
Hmm.
tell me because that might just not work for me.
Exactly.
Also, fun fact, I've been on podcasts before, and Fizz also been on my podcast before.
Hmm.
Oh my God, it was fun. We've talked about wellness and difference between well-being and wellness.
Hmm.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Let's
So we should, I think it's good that we talk about those things and we can certainly keep that going. And actually, do you have any thoughts that you want to provide to the listener today?
Ooh, absolutely. I suggest that you call your friend today, let them know how much you appreciate them. Like
Mm,
how much
I
I would like
appreciate
to
you.
I appreciate you. And if you're thinking about booking that flight to, I don't know, Venice, book it. If you're thinking about getting that pair of jeans that is going to make you look fabulous, get it. And last but not the least, go drink water and go for a walk.
Woo. Yes, that's a good reminder for me. I gotta drink some water and go for a walk this afternoon. So, thank you so much for being on this podcast episode. I really appreciate you. You gave us a lot to think about today and a lot of really great content for us to think about and for us to work towards in terms of our self-growth process. And is there anything you'd like to plug? Anything that where can our listeners find you?
Ooh, absolutely. I also have a podcast. It's called A Bunch of BS with Sid, and you can find me on Instagram. I will share that Instagram and link it below, but
Yes.
also the Instagram handle is as follows. It's at A Bunch of BS with Sid. You can find it. It's very pink and black and white because I wanted it to be like that. I love pink. I
And
feel
what's
like
your podcast about?
my podcast is every episode is with a friend,
Mhm.
and all we do is catch up and talk about whatever we want to talk about. For example, it could be about long distance friendships, it could be about wellness, and we've talked about how to survive grad school. So honestly, anything and everything under the sun, I didn't want to keep one strict theme because my friends are from various parts of the world and they bring in so many different things, and I didn't want to confine them in a box.
Yes, everyone follow Sid on Instagram and listen to his podcast. I will link it in this week's episode. So you have a direct link there that you can go to. Thank you again so much, Sid, for joining me on this week's
Thank you for
episode.
having me.
And I will definitely make sure we have you back for more.
I will see you on my pod as well very
Yes.
soon. Part
Thanks for
two.
listening to, yes, and thank you for listening to another episode of Lush Life No Labels. Like and subscribe and follow me on Instagram.
Woohoo!
Bye.